G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make a pumpkin garland. It is quite an easy project, so it is great for beginners. I also give you ideas on how to make this into Christmas baubles, or you could change the colour and make them into apples, red or green. So I hope you enjoy this video and let's get started on the lesson. We're going to need some colours of your choice. I'm using the Red Heart Super Saver, and how appropriate, it's called Pumpkin. And then the colour for your stalk. Now I'm choosing this green because it's better for the video. You can choose obviously what colour you want. Now I can show you the difference between worsted weight and 8-ply because I didn't have any greeny colours in the worsted weight. So I'm just going to use some of my 8-ply. So here's the difference in the thickness. As you can see, it's quite a bit. This one here is a lot thicker. So use whichever yarn you've got. This project's just using up scraps. This was a new ball, so it's not going to use much at all. This one, as you can see, is not, so it's just some scraps. So what we're going to do is start with the magic ring. Now you can use a magic ring or you can chain 5 and join. The magic ring for this project is easier. It gives it a nice tight centre in the middle, which is what we need. So for the magic ring, there's a few different ways you can do it, but this is how I do it. I just wrap it around my finger like that and then grab hold of the loop. I'm just pulling the loop off my finger, and then I grab hold of the whole thing, put my hook through the loop, pull through, and then make a chain 1. Then I work into this loop here. So if you don't know how to do that, you can do it that way or you can do it your way. And there's plenty of other different ways that it has on YouTube on how to do them. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain up 3. And then we are going to work 12 double crochets into the center. Now normally your chain 3 would count as your first stitch, but in this one it's not going to. So yarn over, go into the center and work your double crochet. Pull through 2, pull through 2. Now in this I'm actually going to show you a trick on what you can use when you join and you want the invisible seam. You don't want the ugly seam that sometimes can happen when you make hats. Sorry, this yarn is getting stuck. So we're going to keep going until we have a chain 3 and then 12 double crochets. What I do is I just keep going and then count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's our chain of 3, so I need 4 more. One, 2, 3. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and our chain 3. Now what I've discovered when making hats, and I haven't actually made a video at this point, it's now just the end of September 2012. I haven't actually done the video for this one yet with a hat. So I'm just pulling the centre, that's the offcut at the back we got here, the end, just pulling that tight, pulling up the circle nice and tight. And what we're going to do when we join, we're not going to be joining into the chain 3 because that's what we normally do, isn't it? We normally join up into the top of the chain 3 here. We're going to ignore chain 3. So the chain 3 in all the rounds that we make, if it was for a hat, we don't count that as a stitch. This is our first stitch here, the double crochet. So into the top of the double crochet, which is there, you're going to join your yarn. And what happens is the chain 3 is still there and it fills in the gap that is created when we make our join. when we come around on the next row, we're not going to be counting it because it won't even be there because we've skipped it. So what we need to do now is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet back down into the same stitch. So now we're working out of the double, there's the chain 3, we're working out of the double crochet. So see that little tiny hole at the top there? That's what we're working into. Going into there with a double crochet. And then we're going to work 2 double crochets in most of the stitches around, but in the last 3 stitches we're going to do something different. So if you're going to continue on, leave the last 3 empty, if not follow along with me. So we're working a double crochet, so we've yarned over, going into the next stitch through both loops. I'm going to work 1 and then working another one in that same stitch. So in each stitch around, until we have 3 left, we're going to be working 2 double crochets. So 2 double crochets is also known as an increase, which might be abbreviated as INC in lowercase or in uppercase. So we're just doing that all the way around, leaving the last 3 stitches. Okay, so we're nearly up to where we need to leave our last 3. And the reason we're leaving in the last 3 is we're going to do different stitches because we don't want this to be perfectly round, because pumpkins aren't perfectly round. They're kind of like flat on the top. Well, some of them are. There's all different shapes, of course. So 1, 2 and 3, we just need to do that last one there. So the next 3, we're going to work 2 half double crochets in that one, 2 single crochets in this one, and 2 half double crochets in that one. So to work your half double crochet, you yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. Yarn over, go into the stitch again, because we're working 2 into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Next stitch is working 2 single crochets, so we go straight into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, into the same stitch for another single crochet, and then in this one, our last stitch, we're going to work 2 half double crochets. Pull through all 3, yarning over, pulling through all 3. Now what I do is, you wouldn't normally do this if you were counting that as a stitch, the chain 3 as a stitch, but what I do now is work a double crochet into that same stitch. You're going to ignore the chain 3 and join into the top of the next double crochet. So ignore the chain 3, into the top of the double crochet, we're going to join. And what that does is closes up the gap. Now I've got one here that I didn't do that method with. See how there's a gap there? And there's not a gap there. This hole here we're looking at. See, it makes such a difference. So what you're doing is you're actually adding a stitch on the last stitch of the round, but because you ignore that first one, you're not actually adding any stitches because you've added one but you've taken one away. So if you add one and then take it away, you still at the same amount. So our next row, and I use that all the time when I do a double crochet hat, it makes such a difference of the seam. And of course when I do my next hat video I'm going to be demonstrating that as well. So this round we are going to be working single crochet. So we're going to chain one. Now this doesn't count as a stitch, it's just to get us up there. So in this same stitch we're going to work a single crochet. In the next stitch we're going to work 2 single crochets, so going into the next stitch. So that's 1 and 2, it's classed as an increase. In our next stitch we're going to work 1 single crochet. In our next stitch we're going to do an increase, so that's 2 single crochets. And we're going to repeat this most of the way around, so it's going to go all the way around here. And see how it starts to go flat there where we started doing our half double crochets? We're going to be slip stitching across the top there. So if you want to go ahead, repeat your single crochet in the one stitch, increase in the next, work your way around till it starts to go flat, and then we'll slip stitch across. So we've got an increase, that's 2 single crochets in the same stitch. We're going to go 1 into the next. In the next one we're going to do 2. We're going to do 1, 2 into the next. And then we're going to repeat this around until we get to, on your piece of work you'll have your 2 double crochets there and then 2 half double crochets. And you'll be able to tell because the stitch length is shorter. This one's longer than that one. This one's a shorter stitch, a half double crochet. So that will leave us 1, 2, 3, 4, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches I think it is. So stop when you get 7 stitches from the end, that's the easy way to do it, and then we'll sort it out when we get there. Hey? So I'm going to continue on just for a couple of stitches. So it's a single, then it's 2, it's a single crochet, and then it's 2. Repeat that around until you get to about 7 stitches from the end. So here we go. We're starting when we did the 2 lot. We had those 3 stitches left. Then we did 2 in that one. Did 2 in that one, and then we did 2 in that one. So what we're going to do is we're just going to slip stitch across, and what that does is makes the top of our pumpkin, it makes it flat across there instead of completely round. So if you want to make it completely round, continue on with that single crochet and it will be completely round. But if we don't, we're going to slip stitch, so we're going into the stitch, pulling through, and all the remaining stitches, whether you've got 6 or 7, we're going to slip stitch across. So this is one of those patterns that if you add an extra stitch by accident, it's really not going to matter. And the good thing with this is a beginner's project that you're using it for. It's a great way to, doesn't matter if you've got a mistake, because trust me, we have all been there, we've all made mistakes. So we're just slip stitching into the last stitch, which was the single crochet of the first single crochet of the round. So we're just slip stitching into there. See how it's made it flat across there? Now what, this is also double as an ear. Hello. If you wanted to use it as an ear and you don't want it to lay flat and you want it to sort of curl in a bit, do another round of slip stitches around this section, around the curvy section, not the flat section, just the curvy section. Drop down 2, maybe even 3 size hooks, so go smaller with your hook. And if you slip stitch across there, make them really tight, that is going to make that curl up like so. So there, see that? We go to make a pumpkin and we end up with an ear. So what we're going to do now is we are going to cut this off. We're going to thread that little piece through the loop, pulling tight. Now you can sew in your ends now if you like. I'm not going to because I'm on the video. Now I've just got to change hooks because my yarn is thinner, so I need to change down some hooks. But if you're just using worsted weight, don't bother. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at your pumpkin and you're going to find the middle. You can count it or you can not count it. You can just eyeball it. And what we're going to be using is 2 stitches on the top here. So I'm just eyeballing it, and those 2 stitches I think are what I'm going to use there. So what's that? That's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 9 stitches across. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I'm going to use 4 and 5. So I'm going to go into here, grabbing my new colour, just looped it over the hook there, pull through, leaving enough to sew in at the back. We're going to chain 1, pull down the short piece at the back just to secure it in there, and we're going to chain. Now you can use a double crochet or you can use a treble crochet. I've used treble crochets because the yarn is thinner. It wasn't high enough with a double crochet. So you know how to do a double crochet because we just did the one there. So if you're going to use double crochet, chain 3. If you're going to use treble crochet, chain 4. So 1, 2, 3 if you're doing double crochet, 4 if we're going to use a treble crochet. And what we're going to do is work another stitch back into that same stitch. So yarning over, going into the same stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2, and yarning over, pulling through 2. So that's what you'd do if you were going to do a double crochet, but I'm doing a treble crochet. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to yarn over twice, so it's once and twice. Please ignore that motorbike in the background. So it's pulling up a loop. We have 4 on our hook, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2, pulling through 2. So I'm going to do another treble crochet, sorry. Wrapping twice, going into the next stitch, and we're going to be working our slip stitches here. So we're going to go under the slip stitch and through, pulling up a loop. We have 4 on our hook, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2, yarning over, pulling through 2. Now we're going to chain 3 if you use double crochet, or chain 4 if you used a treble. And we're going to go back down into that same stitch that we just went into and do a slip stitch. And then pull through the stitch that's on the hook. I'm going to cut off our yarn and then pull the end through the loop. There we go. And you're going to sew in your ends if you haven't already, and then we'll start on making the chain. So after you've made one, you need to make as many as you like for your garland. And now we're going to join them together. So putting those aside, grabbing the colour that you want to use for the string section, you're going to want to leave a little bit on the end so that when we're finished you can, this is if you want to, you can tie that so that you've got a little loop to hang it up with. Don't have to do that if you don't want to. But if you do, leave a little bit on the end. Make your slip knot however you make it. Now we're going to make a chain. Now I'm using the 8 ply, which is the skinny yarn that we have here in Australia. And depending on how long you want the sections between your pumpkins is how many chains you're going to make, because you're going to be joining it here, chaining across, and then joining it there. So I've picked 20 for the amount of chains in between. So you're going to chain 20. And I actually lost count there, but I think it was 20. You're going to grab your pumpkin and you're going to go into, see how we've got 4 stitches? You're going to go into the gap between the 2. So getting your hook, going into the gap between the 2, and then we're going to do a slip stitch. You could also do a single crochet, but I'm going to work a slip stitch. And now our crochet rope section is joined to the top of our pumpkin. So now you're going to make your chain again, the number that you've chosen. Mine's 20. Then you're going to get your next one and do the same. Go in between the 2 stitches that you've got either side and work your slip stitch. Now you can make a chain, a single crochet as well. Then you're going to repeat that process. So you're going to keep chaining and joining. And there we go. That's what you're going to end up with. So like I said, like you can put as many chains in between as you like. You could make them even in between. You can make them not even as you go along, so they're staggered in not even distances. I had an idea before too. If you made these rounds, remember how I said if you wanted to make it perfectly round, you continue on with that single crochet on that last row, how we're doing an increase, a single, and then an increase, and we went around. Well, if you continue it all the way around, you'll get a circle. So you won't do those slip stitches, you'll continue that last row all the way around. Make them all different colours. Use the top section as black, and you've got Christmas baubles. How cool would that be? You could make a little Christmas bauble garland. Now, if someone does that, you have to send me a photo. I would love to see it. My email will be in the description box below the video. So continue along, joining however many you have all together, and then I'll meet you when I'm finished that and we'll see what we've got. So when you've joined them all together, what you're going to do is just do a chain, and I've already cut my yarn, and just pull out like so. So now you can make your loop if you wanted to. So you would just tie it in a knot, and then just make sure the knot is down where the chain ends. Then sew in this piece into your chain. So I'll show you again on the other end. You're just going to wrap it around your finger, put the loop, the end bit through the loop, pull down on the knot so that it's going towards your chain, and then pulling tight, making sure you don't pull it completely out, and sew in that end as well. Let's see what we've got. This is so cute. This is so cute. Now, you could also change the colour of this to apple green with a black stem, or red with a black stem. Maybe only do 1 or 2 stitches at the top there. You've got apples. This is just adorable, and it won't fit in my camera. Going up. Hold on to your seats, boys and girls. The sun's coming through the window there. So there we go. That's what mine looks like. Aren't they cool? So hang this up for Halloween or fall, as you guys in the US and I think Canada says fall. We say autumn, but you know, it's the season when all the leaves are turning a beautiful colour on the trees. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you are a member of Facebook, make sure you join our Facebook page over there under Bob Wilson 123. Or you can email me a photo of your creation in the box below. My email address will be in the description box. So till next time, happy crochet!